You are logged on and listening to the Computer Corner radio show, brought to you by Computer Corner, your local resource for computer hardware, software, services, and training since 1983. Computer Corner is high-tech with a human touch. This is Phil Shortell, your host and the lead instructor at Computer Corner, and with me here today, as is the norm, are both the owners of Computer Corner, Carol and Joe Petronovich, and good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, computer friends.
Hey, if your flash drive got flushed, I actually did that once, your firmware is flimsy, or your filter's off kilter, let us be your personal computer consultants for the next hour.
Thanks for listening to the Computer Corner show today, and to our loyal clients, of course, we thank you most of all. We really do enjoy helping you with all your computer problems, and as we've mentioned before, your question might help somebody else out there.
But if you do have a question for us and you can't call in today, you can always come see us at Computer Corner. We're located at 3101 Manal, Northeast, about 2 blocks west of Carlisle and American Furniture.
And today we want to help you with some general maintenance tips for your computer so that your computer will last longer and you'll be happier with it. These tips would apply to PCs or Macs, laptops or desktops, and we'd like to recommend that you do these once a week. Mm-hmm. So first, let's talk about the products that you'd be using to do this.
Kaspersky Antivirus, Malwarebytes, which is an anti-malware program which you can download and run on demand or purchase a subscription, which I have done.
We will also talk about Hitman Pro, which works well with your antivirus and Malwarebytes. We'll use that to catch anything that slips past your antivirus because it's necessary, absolutely necessary, because we computer users have a habit of clicking where we shouldn't, downloading a file we shouldn't, or opening an email we shouldn't.
Yeah, it's just actually this morning, I'm not making this up, happened this morning. I got an email supposedly from AT&T offering me a chance at a $100 gift card to take a survey.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, I'm not an AT&T customer, so this kind of brought up some thoughts. Maybe this wasn't real. But feeling safe because I am well protected with these things that we're talking about.
Sure.
I said, let me see what happens if I click on that. Kaspersky immediately said, Fishing expedition, don't go there.
Okay, amazing.
Not only things like that, but when a new virus is introduced on the World Wide Web, at that moment there is no code written to block it. The antivirus publishers get to work writing code to block the new virus, but in the interim, you could be vulnerable to a virus or hack. We recommend those other pieces of software.
And if you're a Mac user and you think you don't need antivirus or malware protection, you would be potentially disastrously incorrect. Some of the biggest hacking incidents have actually involved Apple users, including iPhones.
Right. CCleaner is another program you can download and run. We use this to clean up temporary files and registry issues that can slow your computer down and take up your resources like hard drive space.
And another program we'll talk about is Ninite, which allows you to update your web browser, Java, and a whole bunch of other products with just one click.
Yeah, let's just start with Kaspersky Antivirus software. We recommend this over other antivirus programs because we believe it does a good job and doesn't bog your system down like some other antivirus programs do.
And we recommend that you run Kaspersky manually at least once a week, doing a complete scan of all your drives.
And after you do that, then run Malwarebytes to get rid of cookies and ad tracking. Then run Hitman Pro to root out anything that has slipped past your antivirus. As a reminder, these usually slip through because we've clicked on something we shouldn't have. It might not even look like a threat. In fact, it might be a website or email message initiating from a bank or from AT&T or something like that, the
right.
IRS or the post office.
After Kaspersky, Malwarebytes, and Hitman Pro, we recommend that you run CCleaner. And as we've said before, this will clean up temporary files and registry issues. But you don't want to stop there.
Nope.
You might think you're all done, but I'm from the old school, and I then like to finish off by right-clicking on my PC or my computer, whatever up there in the top left-hand corner of your monitor, going down to the boot drive, right-clicking to Properties, and running Disk Cleanup. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, well, CCleaner's already cleaned all this stuff up, and it's going to be all zeros. It's all fresh. But you'll discover after running this that it pops up and actually tells you it has more things to remove. Yeah. And just do that, let it run, and that might take some time, but it's worth it after it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you should finish up by making sure all your Windows updates are current by going down to the search box on the taskbar and typing Windows Update or check for updates, which will bring you to the Windows Update screen where you should find a notification as to whether you're up to date or not. And if not, you can initiate a check for updates from Windows.
We also mentioned Ninite, which is spelled Ninite. This is essentially a web management tool that you don't even have to run once a week. Once you've engaged it, it will automatically and securely update your web-based programs like browsers such as Chrome and Firefox.
And you can choose which programs you want to have automatically updated. So if you don't want all of them, you don't have to have all of them updated. The list is quite extensive. There's Google Earth, TeamViewer, Mozy, Dropbox, Skype. We mentioned Java before.
And Audacity for me.
Yeah,
for
sound me
editing.
too.
You'll especially want to run these programs if you feel like something's wrong with your computer. Maybe it's running slowly or shutting down, or you just get that feeling that something's not quite right.
If your computer is running slowly and you've already run Kaspersky, Malwarebytes, Hitman Pro, and CCleaner, you also might want to see if your computer is running out of hard drive space.
Yeah, to do that, go to the File Explorer, this PC, and right-click on the boot drive, which is normally the C drive. This is the same place that Joe just sent you to earlier in our talk here. There you'll see a donut-shaped graphic of how much space on your hard drive is used and how much is free.
The general rule of thumb, you should have at least 15% of your total capacity free if you have a mechanical hard drive, a spinning drive, and between 10 and 25% free space if you have an SSD, solid-state drive, with that lower number for newer SSDs and the higher number for older SSDs.
Yeah, the amount of space is needed if you decide to optimize the drive by clicking on the Tools tab, where we just are, and selecting, well, Optimize, which will manually defragment the drive for greater efficiency in file retrieval. Take note here that there is some disagreement in the technical community as to whether you should do this on an SSD, solid-state drive, and I defer to Joe for his feelings on that.
Well, the main reason is, yes, you can do it, and maybe you like just seeing your drive walk through and defrag and line up all your files back to back. But what you're doing is aging your drive. There's only so many read and write rights guaranteed by the manufacturer to each part of that drive, each different minuscule section. And if you continually read and write, burn them up, your drive's not going to last as long.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, with a solid-state drive, the speed of it should really compensate for any fragmentation.
Yeah, you really don't need to do it.
Robert, thank you for your call. We appreciate you. And what can we do?
Well, I had something weird happen to me this morning.
Hopefully it's with computers.
What?
Hopefully it's with computers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have something weird happen to me every morning.
Well, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was playing an online game on Facebook, and my computer shut off. And then it came back on all by itself. And then it did it again. And it came back on all by itself. And it hasn't done it since.
Well, when you say it came back by itself, did you get a blue screen or a red screen?
No screen,
No screen, it just shut off.
Just shut off.
So it completely powered off and then powered itself back on again?
Yes.
I think we need an exorcism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
You don't still have one of the old-fashioned dial-up modems in the computer, do you?
No.
Yeah, that's an odd one, Robert.
So,
Well, I'm glad I made you happy.
Yeah, you did.
Just a good rule of thumb would be to go ahead and download Hitman Pro and Malwarebytes if you haven't done that already. I would definitely run those programs. You don't want to run them simultaneously, so just pick one and run Hitman Pro and then Malwarebytes or the other way around. But I would definitely do that because, you know, Facebook's gotten some bad reputation lately for hacks and things, and you never know.
You know, you really ought to do all the things we've talked about before you do anything else on that computer, because I'm almost wondering if something hasn't been downloaded, needed the restarts to finally finish off the installation, and you could be in big trouble. So run those, do those downloads, let it run. If all that gets cleaned up, worst case, check your search strip or that kind of thing. But I think something's tried to get in on your PC.
Yep, that does sound that way. Games are kind of notorious for that as well.
Yeah, they are. Thank you for your call, Robert.
For years.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And we're going to tell you a little bit about another utility you can run on your computer. And it's called CheckDisk. CHKDSK. And Joe, you want to take that?
CheckDisk goes all the way back to the DOS days.
Yeah, it does.
You can run this very quickly, and it will tell you size of your hard drive, how many sectors. But the main thing to look for is how many bad sectors it has. It should always say 0. If you've got a small number there or you see a number there, your hard drive's getting ready to go. You need to back it up and get a new one. Take it into us, whatever, transfer data, but you should never see anything other than 0 there.
That's a really important aspect of this, to run that check disk and make sure your hard drive's okay. Because if you think about it, that's the thing that's going to fail. I mean, your processor isn't going to fail probably unless you've gotten a lightning strike or something. Your motherboard's going to be rock solid. But as Joe was talking about in the first part of the show, the hard drive only works or boots or does its operations so many times, and then it's done.
Right. Now, there's some things we should tell you about check disk. Number one, you can get to it from the same place I mentioned a little earlier, from right-clicking on the boot drive and going to Tools, and there is a little switch there for check disk. But it isn't going to run right then. It is going to run the next time you boot the computer. And another thing about check disk, it may take some time depending upon the size of your hard drive.
Right.
And when I say some time, yeah, we could be talking significant time, not minutes, but hour or more than 1 hour.
So at the top of the hour, we also talked about some computer tips, some things that you should use, Kaspersky, Hitman Pro, Malwarebytes, CCleaner. If you couldn't quite follow all of those things, feel free to email us. And that email address is radioshow, which is all one word, at compcorner.com. It's not computercorner.com, it's compcorner.com. So we'd be happy to share that with you in writing so that you can follow those tips.
And I want to go back to that little thing that happened to me this morning when I got this email saying supposedly from AT&T saying that I had a chance to win a $100 gift card. And who doesn't want a $100 gift card, right?
Sure.
And that email looked absolutely perfect. It had the right logos. It looked like it was professionally done. Everything about it was designed to make you feel it was a safe thing to do.
Joe gets some from Wells Fargo.
And Bank of America.
And Bank of America, and he doesn't have accounts there.
Never have.
Right. Well, see, that's it. I wouldn't be suspicious about Wells Fargo because I do have accounts there.
Yeah.
Beware of things that come to you like that. It looks so good. And $100 was worth looking at. And, thankfully, of course, I am fully protected and I have the Kaspersky. And Kaspersky said, no, this is a phishing site. Don't go there. They wanted me to do a survey. And maybe that's all they wanted, but they wanted to get some information from me. That's for certain.
The other thing we've seen this week is companies getting emails from names of people within a company to another person within a company, or somebody outside the company saying, you haven't paid this invoice yet for the equipment we got this week. Click here to download whatever. And yeah, you've got to be very careful.
So especially with those that are downloads, that is indication that it could be malware, of course, but ransomware that's very, very prevalent.
And you don't want that. I got an email last week from somebody named Peter Strzok, supposedly directed to somebody named Lisa Page, but I didn't bother to look at it.
From the FBI.
Yeah.
Sure. So let's talk about ransomware for a little bit.
Okay.
And we know from firsthand experience, because this happened to one of our customers, that a new employee clicked on an email that literally said, download your invoice here. She happened to work in the accounting office, so it wasn't unusual for her to get an invoice. So she downloaded the file and went about her business. Meanwhile, ransomware and its little demons that go with it spread throughout the entire network of this company. And it's a company about 20 people. By the time anybody figured out what was going on, every computer on that network was infected. When you want to tell the rest of the story, Joe, because it was ransom.
That whole infection to the entire network took about 30 seconds. When the IT people walked over to their server, on the screen was the ransom note. And I forgot what they wanted now. They wanted something like $10,000 or something, payable in Bitcoin. And you had 24 hours to pay it, or all the data was going to be lost forever.
And if you clicked on any of the files on your server, they would come up as gibberish. None of the operations would work. So lots of us were interested in this because, of course, we hadn't seen it firsthand. We'd only read about it and heard about it. But when it hits, a customer or somebody that you know, you become interested and you learn about it.
Now, the story sort of has a happy ending. The customer tried to pay this ransom, but discovered that he could only buy a small part of Bitcoin per day. I don't know where he was going to do that, but he couldn't get the full amount within the 24 hours. He did have a backup, though, a tape backup, and we restored that. He was back up the next day. but he lost an entire day of productivity. Basically, everybody was down.
Yeah.
So the other thing about the ransom that is interesting is if you don't pay within 24 hours, the ransom goes up. If you're limited, if they will only take Bitcoin and you can't get enough Bitcoin to satisfy the ransom, then your amount's actually going to go up. And of course, they use Bitcoin because you can't trace Bitcoin.
Right. It's a dangerous world out there. Yep. So as Sergeant Mike used to say at the end of Hill Street Blues,
yes.
Hey, be careful out there. Ed, I want to thank you for your call.
I'm wondering about mail. I've always kind of steered away from Microsoft Mail or Outlook and stuff, and I've gotten and I use CenturyLink's webmail. And the rationale behind it is that the mail isn't stored on my hard drive, and hopefully I'm a little bit safer that way. Is that right or not right?
I don't think it would make much of a difference, Joe.
I don't think so either, because it's still live coming to you, and you still have to make responses to it. Doesn't matter where it's at.
Okay.
If it's going to infect you, it's going to infect you, whether it resides there permanently or not. It really doesn't matter.
Okay. I was hoping that I would just be viewing it on their server rather than it actually being transferred down to me.
That's something that almost everybody thinks is going on, that you're viewing it from the server. But anything that you see on your computer, anything that shows up on that screen has been actually downloaded to your computer.
And is in cache memory at that time.
Right.
So it's on your computer. And we've heard the stories of, well, I have, like you said, CenturyLink. Other people have said they have Comcast with McAfee's or Norton that's free of charge with their subscription. They don't understand how they still got infected, and why should I have other things resident on my PC? You still need them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mark, thank you for calling the Computer Corner Radio Show. How can we make your life easier?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I was just calling to ask, amongst the list of security software you folks mentioned, I no longer hear anyone talking about software firewalls, and I was just going to inquire if Joe had an opinion on that.
Software firewalls were notorious for being hacked almost immediately out of the gate. And you continually had to go to their websites week after week to download firmware patches. And quite frankly, they just were not worth the trouble. Just get a good hardware appliance, and that's all you need.
And we were talking about that last week, too, with the that virus that was hitting the routers, you know, they're getting through their firewalls, more so to speak. Yeah, there's a firewall in your modem or router, and that really should be the one that takes care of things for you.
Correct.
But you should also, and this is going back to what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, you should periodically look for updates for your router software, because they may have found vulnerabilities, and they, of course, do try to fix them as fast as they possibly can. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call, Mark. We appreciate you.
Have a good one.
You too. And that brings me to Dave. Dave, thank you very much for calling into us today. How can we help?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm having a problem with Microsoft Outlook. I have a computer that's still on Windows 7, but I get quite often Microsoft Outlook not responding. I get another thing that comes up that says, and I don't know exactly what the wording is, but your IMAP server cannot delete certain files or something to that effect. There are occasions when I try to send an email, and then all of a sudden it just locks up, and therefore it just sits there with the hourglass running. So I don't know if it's a server thing. We use GoDaddy for all of our email comes in that way, but sometimes I even have to force the inbox. So I have to go over to send receive inbox and click on it to get emails. It just doesn't automatically load the Outlook with.
A couple of things about that. The IMAP message is probably based on the server, so that I wouldn't think would be a fault of Outlook. But with Outlook, have you ever done a repair?
I followed some Google stuff that said if you have this kind of issue, you can do a repair. And I followed that repair. I don't exactly remember what it was. It was probably a couple of weeks ago. But if you guys have got some tips on an Outlook repair,
there are two different things that you should be doing here. The first of which is probably a repair of Microsoft Office. If you go into the control panel and go to Programs, or apps, depending upon which way you're going in, and you find Microsoft Office, you can right-click on that and get an option to do a repair. There are two levels of the repair, a quick repair and a full repair. I always try the quick repair first myself, and then if that doesn't solve the problem, I do a full repair, which is going to take longer and results in downloading stuff from Microsoft. So that's repairing of the Outlook software. The next thing you need to understand is the inbox repair tool. The inbox repair tool does not just repair the inbox. It does some other things too. The inbox repair tool is actually called ScanPST, SCANPST. And you can go in and find that going down to the search box in Windows 7. That'll work. Find that scanpst.exe and run that. It will back up your Outlook file, especially if you tell it to. Make sure you tell it to. And then it will go through looking for inconsistencies in there. And those inconsistencies I have found over the years can cause almost any kind of a problem you can think of. On a personal basis, I run that myself, whether I have any problems or not, every quarter.
Wow. So do you recommend going to this scanpst.exe first, or go into programs and look for repair on Office?
I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but I think I would start with the repair of Office.
Yeah,
okay?
Well, that makes sense, because there have been a couple of occasions where I've had Word not responding, which I thought was
same issue. When you do the repair, you're going to be repairing all of Office.
Sure. No,
because every once in a while it does get corrupted.
Right. Good.
Okay.
Well, I thought, I appreciate that.
And if you have any trouble, with that, send an email to radioshow@compcorner.com, and we'll go through that with you. But it's pretty straightforward, and you sound like a man who's capable of doing that, Dave.
No, I think I'll give it a try. I really appreciate your show.
Okay, and we appreciate your calls. Thank you so much for calling us today. Right. Bye-bye. David, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
David?
David, yes.
Oh, yeah. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for placing it.
Good. I've got a question. I've got Windows 10. It's one of the computers I bought from you all.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. What I'm doing, I've got the Kaspersky antivirus. What I'm getting now, I'm not sure. It started coming up a couple of weeks ago. This has to do with the Kaspersky antivirus. I'm getting a code that says code integrity control is enabled in the operating system. Some application features are unavailable. And it comes up every time I try to log in. But like I say, I go into device security, and I guess it has something to do with core isolation and memory integrity. I tried to get some help from Microsoft Help, and what they told me, they gave me in order to solve it, I've got to go into the registry to fix it. And I was kind of leery to do that.
Yeah, we don't recommend that most users ever go into the registry.
So in this case, would CCleaner potentially help here?
Yes, run the registry cleaner.
I tried that.
Okay.
Well, you've got all three of us in the studio here shaking our heads.
We haven't gotten that message ourselves. We're all Kaspersky users, and we haven't encountered that before.
Let me throw out something else to you. Do you know what version of the updates you're on? Are you up to 1803?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm updating every time they come up.
Well, but this is a massive one. It's going to take several hours for it to finally do it. If you're not aware of doing that, down on the Cortana,
the search box.
The search box, type in Update Assistant.
Okay.
You'll come up with the web pages and go to the one that's from Microsoft only and download the Update Assistance for Windows 10.
Okay.
It'll download a couple things, and you'll click Next. It'll verify how much memory you've got, what processor you've got, how much memory you've got. It checks all that stuff, and then you check Next again, and then it starts installing this thing, and it is massive. It's the current kernel for Microsoft 10, Windows 10, and hopefully, if there's anything wrong, this will fix a lot of things that way. And then,
so it's the update for Microsoft's system itself?
Yes.
Yes. And another thing that we could say to you, David, would be, and it might help us too, if you would send us via email a copy of that message, exactly what it says, because none of us here have ever seen or heard of that before.
Yeah.
All right.
So that would go to radioshow@compcorner.com, and we think that what Joe just told you will probably solve your problem, but it'll help us if you send that. So the next person who has that problem, we're up on it.
Okay, so one more question.
Sure.
When that issue, when I go into Windows Security I'll go into Windows Security, then I'll click Device Security. Then it'll bring me up to Core Isolation. Click on Core Isolation Details, and it takes to Memory Integrity. It says this setting can only be managed by your administrator, and I can't click it on and off. I thought as far as I'm administrating, I'm on that, clicked on as administrator.
The question comes up, David, why are you going in there?
I've never been there.
I went on the actual issue with the box that comes up. If you click the help, that's where it tells you to go to.
Yeah, I think we need to see that message, and so we can do an analysis on it when we get back to the shop and see if we can come up with anything.
So I'll send it. So radio show at ComCorner.
That's it.
All righty.
And thank you for your call, David. Bye-bye.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Well, that's a new one.
Howie, thank you so much for your call.
I got an easy one for you, Dave. My son is looking to buy a Surface Book Pro, and he's looking at the big box store there. And I'm trying to see if I can save him some money. He likes coding and reverse engineering. So I need to try to save him some money. This is one of his first major purchases. He's 18. I wonder if you guys carry those there at your store, and roughly what your cost would be on that.
Okay, we do. We are an authorized Surface provider, and Microsoft, obviously. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard to get a really good deal because Microsoft controls the pricing, and we pretty much all sell them at the same prices. But we would appreciate your business, of course, and the fact that you're looking to buy locally rather than, at one of the big box stores. So that's the
I do work
scoop.
for a company that does do local, so I do
awesome.
prefer doing that.
So the other thing that you might consider is something else in like the HP line that is also a touch screen tablet. Those are a little less expensive, and really they do have very close to the same features. The only thing about the Surface products is usually the resolution on the screen is exceptional, and HPs are also good, but you're going to pay the same price if you get the same resolution. But there are some options in touchscreen tablets in the HP line that would be less expensive for them.
So you could be right there about $2,500 too then.
Correct. It's going to be it's going to be the same price. That's pretty much.
Yes, Carol said,
call it price fixing, but it's not really.
It is and it isn't. Yes. So they control the price. You know how that is with certain things.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate your help, and I was just trying to see what I could find for him.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Howie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Reverse engineering. Boy, I used to try to do that, and that can be fun and really interesting. Ken, thank you for your call. How can we help you?
Yeah, reverse engineering is not easy.
No.
I was listening earlier, and I wanted to run check disk, and so I went to the run area, typed in chkdsk.com, and the DOS screen comes up for about half a second and then disappears, and then nothing happens.
Have you tried to reboot the computer since then?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I think check disk is going to wait until the next reboot.
Yeah, if you go to the command prompt under Tools and get the C prompt in a DOS window, type check disk there, and it should run immediately.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye. Kevin, thank you so much for your call. How can we help?
Thank you for taking my call. 2 questions. I'll ask the first quick question is, I have Kaspersky. I use Firefox. And when I reloaded Kaspersky, it gives me, when I use Firefox or search anything, it says I have an unsecure connection. Do you recommend, I've seen the answer say to go into Kaspersky, go to the network section and uncheck the encryption search thing?
I've got no experience on that.
Now, it's telling you your connection is unsecured.
For Firefox. Yes.
For Firefox. And it doesn't give you that message if you go with any other browser, because that should be the modem setting.
Well, what I did was, after Googling it, I went into Kaspersky settings, went to additional network, and then they said to uncheck something about the encryption. And I did that, and I didn't get that error.
But that's going to take off their criteria for searching on all your browsers.
It does say that you shouldn't do that.
Right.
Kaspersky, because it's saying you're becoming less secure, but on Google, and the answers everybody says, "Oh, it's no big deal. You're not really less secure."
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I would almost look to find some answers from Firefox rather than Kaspersky.
Okay.
Yeah. And start there and Google that.
And I would also go into your modem to make sure that you haven't turned that into an unsecure connection there. Do you know how to do that?
Go into the modem settings?
Right.
Okay. Lastly, I'm sitting outside your store getting ready to go in.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a long-time customer when you were on San Mateo.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, thank you for everything. I have your computer as well. A couple of days ago, I brought in my computer. I forgot my Windows password, and they fixed me up real quick, and I took it home, wrote down a very short password written down, and now 2 days later or so, I can't get back in. It's giving me saying my password is not correct again, Windows password. I'm using Windows 7. Do you recommend I just reload Windows 7? Or?
Do you have the machine in the car with you right now?
Yes, I do. I'm right outside the store.
Yeah, just take it back in, have them blow out that password again, and then re-input the one you want right in front of them.
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah. Have them blow out the password again. Okay. It doesn't take long, especially with Windows 7. But then fire up the machine there at our store, re-enter a password, write it down, shut the machine down, try it a second time, and then you're out the door.
You don't think it's a virus? Or
no.
Anything? Could it be a virus or something like that?
Not on boot up that fast. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for your call, Kevin, and maybe we'll see you at the store in a few minutes.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for your business all these years.
Absolutely.
You appreciate
Love
that.
Computer Corner. Thank you.
Thank you.
He just made my day, I tell you what.
Hey, the Computer Corner show will be back in 2 weeks. Till then, we hope that you'll think of Computer Corner for all your hardware, software, services, and training needs. Remember,
you get more at the corner. Computer Corner.
Until that time, mind your bits and bytes. This is Phil.
And Carol.
And Joe.
Wishing you carefree computing. The Computer Corner radio show is logging off.